book discussion, A Man Called Ove by Frederik Backman. This is a satire. It's a kind of like a Beckettian satire. That's how I would classify the book. It hasn't made it on my top five list for this year, but it's a good book. It's definitely a very funny book, and I guess the first thing I want to say, because it's like comedy is tragedy, and it's a tragic book, a sad book. It almost makes you cry at the end, but it's very funny, and I think the writer, very skilled, has done a very good job in entertaining the reader, and still delivering, I think, some very interesting, thought-provoking messages. So uh, I guess the story is about this man who is, to say the least, a bit peculiar, and he has a very stubborn, rough outer shell and a very soft heart, and that makes him very likable. And he is the kind of character that you can not hate, even though everything he does is geared towards an antisocial, hate-provoking personality. But it's not, because again, there is a very good intention behind it. And I think that, to me, that is the first thing I want to say about this novel, which is, don't judge the book by its cover, or intent is a lot more important than appearance. If somebody appears arrogant or angry or maybe even brusque and not polite and things like that, look at what his intentions are. What is he actually doing? Forget about what he's saying. What is he doing? How is he acting? How is he going through life? So I think that, to me, is definitely the most important message in the book. And I think you learn this throughout the book, how a person can say one thing and do another thing. And this particular character always is a very good-hearted person that wants to be a good citizen, wants to be a good part of society, wants to help his community, and has a certain stubbornness and maybe even abruptness to him that is, yeah, it's almost like in the movie The Invention of Lies, right? It's like when you just cut through the chase, when you don't play the polite dance that humans always play, and just say it the way it is, you might come across as not polite, but that doesn't mean you're not kind. So I think that's definitely one thing that I took away from the book. And I think we have very often in life, I think we're confronted with people like that, where we have to sometimes, they come across as very abrupt and aggressive, maybe, and arrogant and things like that. But overall, they're actually not that bad. So I think that's definitely one thing. The other thing that the author emphasizes a lot is the meaning of life. I think this is a meaning of life novel. I mean, and I think that's where Beckett comes in. The Waiting for Godot, the satire that made Beckett so famous, and his writings. This is very similar. It's a kind of like an absurd satire. This is not real. You can't be like this. Nobody is like this. But in the end, nevertheless, this is a person, and he lives, and it's certainly within the realm of possibilities that a person like this exists. And given that, I think you can ask yourself, okay, what is this person's motivation? And I think this goes back to one of the books that actually made it on my list this year, which is To Whom the Bell Tolls. And For Whom the Bell Tolls, excuse me. The big message there is a man needs something to fight for, and a man needs to love. And this is it. This is what A Man Called Ove is about. Like, you need something to fight for, and you need somebody to love. This man loses the person that he loves the most, and most of the book is about his relationship with his deceased wife. But then there's also his lack of desire of living that somehow, nevertheless, keeps going because he has something to fight for. And there's a scene in the book where he eventually says, there is a war and I don't have time to die. And I think this epitomizes this message that if I have something to fight for, I live. If I love and I have something to fight for, I live. If I lose one, I can still live. If I lose both, there's nothing to live, nothing to fight for. So this is an existential book, and again in the sort of tradition of Beckett, I think fits really well. It's written in a satire form. They even made a movie with Tom Hanks about it. So it's definitely an impressive piece of literature. Now, the reason it didn't make it on my list, and this is the third thing I want to say, I think some of the narrative is a bit too, like it's obvious. It's a little boring. I mean, I'm a bit tired of the Iranian woman that sort of shows her how different she is, and how Ove, who's very sort of nationalistic, how he accepts her and all that. This just has a woke undertone, and I'm sick and tired of this. And I don't know if the author was going that way. Then there's also, of course, the gay person in there. So all these characters, it kind of feels like a Netflix show. It feels like a woke undertone. It feels like sending a message. I'm sick and tired of it. I don't want to hear about it. You could have chosen a very polite, nice Swedish woman. You could have chosen a straight man instead of a gay man that is being kicked out from his house because he's not whatever, doesn't fulfill his father's dreams or whatever. I mean, this wokeism is just sick and tired, and makes me sick and tired. So that's why it didn't make it on my list. Maybe some people might find that a little too aggressive, but again, I think we are living in a time when that kind of message, that kind of undertone is just not tolerable, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It takes us away from what really matters. And what really matters is respect for humans. What really matters is stick to your values, protect human dignity, and everybody should have that right, and everybody should be protected, whether they are Iranian or Swedish. It doesn't matter. So bringing up these foreign, racial, sexual topics just is I think it's totally unacceptable, and I just don't want to even be exposed to it. So this is one criticism I would like to make. Now, the book has been written sort of, I don't know exactly, but certainly sort of pre-COVID, and in a time when wokeism was simmering, and maybe that was cool as an intellectual to talk like this. And I don't know what the situation in Sweden is all about. Maybe in Sweden it's a topic that is worth discussing, but again, in 2025, this is just not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. To summarize again, A Man Called Ove, a great book. Nevertheless, I recommend the reading and the watching of it. I haven't seen the movie. I'm sure the movie is good. Tom Hanks, he can he's perfect for a role like this. It's similar actually to the role he played, a little bit like what's the movie called? Forrest Gump. So it has a bit of that feel, like that satiristic, personality that is just absurd almost, but goes through life in a beautiful way, in a good-hearted way. Love, same thing in Forrest Gump. Love is a big theme, and then of course also again something to fight for. Maybe in Forrest Gump, not so clear here. Absolutely paramount. Like he keeps what keeps him alive is the fight. And then eventually he lets go when that fight is over, and love prevails. Love is sort of the overarching theme in this book, very beautifully also exercised by the author, and it just gives you hope. It gives you hope, but it's an entertaining read, and it's well done. Thank you.